Right, we'll make a start. So welcome. Okay. We're all good? Sounds good now. Look, welcome to this full council meeting of Environment Southland today. I do have one apology for the absence, but an apology to Jeffrey Young. I can move on for that. David, and Alistair, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. We have a request to remove a report, 10.5, the adoption of the flood control and drainage management bylaw by the CE. Just duly note that, is that correct?
Yes.
So we don't need, no discussion needs to be done, but that's been removed from the, he's requested that. So yes, lots of maps, but we'll remove that. So that's been taken out of the agenda. So we will move on to declarations. I don't know of any declarations of interest. Sorry, yes, Morris.
Do we have an explanation as to why that has to be removed for the public?
It's not ready to be considered by council. There's more work that's been discovered needs to be undertaken before it's submitted back to council.
We just want to ensure compliance with some new legislation, relatively new legislation.
Oh, thank you. That's all fine. My knowledge, we don't have any public petitions, deputations. We'll move on to 5 confirmation of minutes. Got the first one up is the ordinary meeting council, 18th of March. 18th of March 2026. David?
I'm happy to move it with the 6th bullet point on page 11. I think this is a slight typo. Work has commended on Canoa. I think it should be commended.
Okay, that's slight alteration. Can I have a second for that? Oh, thank you there. Any other discussion? I think that's all good. I'll put that. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. 5.2 extraordinary meeting of council, 15th of April. I'll remove it for that.
Yep.
Second, John, discussion. Good, I'll put that. All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. We'll move on the adoption of the committee resolutions. Finance and Performance Committee. You want to?
Oh no, I just
March, you're all happy.
maybe to move that. It was fairly regular meeting with a greenhouse gas annual report. Good to see that is slowly falling. The next step in that is to look at ways that we can reduce that even further. And I understand that work is going on. We are trialling a hybrid ute at the moment, and so it'll be good to hear how that goes, and hopefully we'll be able to expand more electric vehicles into the fleet in the future. So I'm not sure if there's anything else. Anybody else on the committee wanted to?
Alistair, have you seconded or do you want to?
11.2, we bullet point 3. When can we expect that report to appear? Patrick, and it reads, Canoa funding, as the work is in progress, Mr. Nagg will collaborate with Mr. Hicks to provide the committee with a detailed breakdown that includes administration costs and explains how the money is spent. And this will be not before the next meeting.
So, through the chair, I'm working with Lucy at the moment, and we're producing a schedule of the resources we need for our work and we'll need for the next few years. We're looking at tying in with Lucy's work on identifying the milestones and the timing of expenditure, but producing financial reporting. there is a trajectory on that. Funding wise, there's just appointed a program manager that's just started, so we will probably work that through with the program manager and we see these all going on in the realize.
I was struggling to find the references.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. I just missed the first part. So as previously mentioned, we are working through the reporting needs for the Kanawa work. The Integrated Catchment Management Committee will get a report at the end of May. Elements of that will include financial breakdown showing at this point in terms of what has been spent and what has not. If we will seek further guidance on where your reporting has to be reported by performance and what you might want through for this.
I think what we need, well, I don't know, I'm going to put this up. What we need is the complete project that is being funded by Tranche 1. We then need what the cost of it is, and then where we are up to with the project in relation to the spending. So then we can keep a really good hold on it, because where we're missing at the moment, or what we might put this as me, is that we've spent 50% to Tranche 1, and once again, I'll say we've seen nothing in relation to the total project, what it is, and where we're at with respect with the spending.
So through you, Chair,
I don't know, Carol, I'm just,
I was just going to say through you, Chair, we can make sure that we're spending the reporting to address the elements that you're identifying as well.
Thank you.
thanks, do you want to second that? Oh, sorry,
I'll move that, Mr. Chairman.
Alistair, you're going to second it since you've got a lot.
Yes, I will, thank you.
Yep, no other questions, and we can put that, all in favour, say aye. Against, carried. We'll move on to risk and insurance committee with March committee resolutions. Linda, I see you.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Chairman. No, nothing major to say really, apart from the 10.4, which was the monitoring network resilience and wind event deep dive, which is really helpful.
Okay.
And it's available, of course, in the agenda for the meeting if anybody wants to go and look. Otherwise, I'm happy to move for that, those resolutions. Thank you.
Second for that. John, discussion, I'll put it, all in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Move on to the 6.3 integrated catchment management committee resolutions, 25th of March. John, do you want to?
Yeah, thanks. Once again, another reasonably full agenda. It looks like it's going to be the tone of those meetings, a lot going on. But look, just wanted to go to the reports, report 9 land sustainability and biodiversity program. That was ended up with the full endorsement of the council behind this. When Simon Stokes gave us pretty much a 10-year plan. He's not long been with us, and he's hit the ground running. So it was really good to see the longevity he's looking for the work that the land sus and biodiversity program are doing. So just want to highlight that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, good. Do I have a secondary? Are there any questions in regards to that? Alistair, second it. Second it. Okay, I'll put that. All in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Right, moving 6.4. Southland Civil Defence Emergency Management Group, 27th of March. Oh,
No, it was, we continue to build alignment of understanding. And we reform after the elections of October last year. We do understand that we've still got some work to do to continue strengthening resilience of our regional emergency management system. And that's kind of the broad theme that's probably evident in the agenda at the minute. And I did note that we are looking forward to a new emergency manager starting in the end of May. Very exciting. As we rebuild up to the full strength of the team that's been until 2-3 years.
okay. Questions? I'll have a second that. Put that. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Move on, strategy and policy committee, 15th of April.
Thank you, Chairman. Just like to highlight that the Southland Climate Change Impact Assessment is available on our website. And it's well worth a read, which also dovetails into 9.4, which is the climate change community resilience work that we're doing. And I can confirm that the letter for the Infrastructure Commission has been sent. The Regulatory Standards Act is an ongoing project of work. Happy to move those minutes.
Do you have a question?
Just around 9.6, council requests and actions. Question was raised regarding the community engagement team's farm plan budget of 200K for the income contract. Whether it was same for all regions, and it was need to look into this and get back. We had to get back. That's just a question.
Nobody can answer that.
Hayley.
Hayley?
Yeah, we're still reaching out to our colleagues across the regional sector to determine the comparativeness of that. I'll be able to provide an answer at the next strategy and policy committee meeting.
Thanks.
Chairman, if I can, it's on the action list, so it should
Back
appear
to
on the
the
next agenda.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
I have
Alistair,
Number 8, Chairman of Councillors' reports. I made a report there, and my wording were that nobody gets up in the morning to spoil the environment. I believe that's been watered down by saying he felt that the Environment Southland needed to change its approach to a strategy and move to a more positive position. I like my words, so I would like them to go in there.
Okay.
Councillor, can I just?
Yep.
Just reminding Councillor Gussie, that these are not word for word minutes, they're a précis of the decisions, so I think particularly want those words in there.
I want them particularly in there so that people can see, and on my day that I get in the box, they can say at least he was very strong about these things.
You have the right to ask that, so.
And those minutes are presented for the adoption of the resolution, so they can be fixed and come up to the committee for confirmation at that time. And that should be corrected.
No.
But we can correct that when they come up next. Don't let us forget, please.
No. Okay, do I have a seconder for that? You second that. If everybody's happy, I'll put that. All in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Move on to 7, notification of extraordinary items, urgent business. I do not know. I don't have any questions. We'll move on to 9, chairman and councillor reports. We'll see my activities there. Entertained most days. It'd be good to be able to get around. I've actually got around to do quite a few liaison committees, so it's always good to catch up what's going on. Really good community engagement. So, yeah, it's good to see the work that's been done out in the river catchments. That's pretty good feedback coming from there. Yeah, we had a good attendance, the Thriving Southland breakfast last week. It's quite, yeah, it was good to see that. There's obviously the Makareva designing. Was that I'm sorry, making sure I got the right software in regards to where mitigation's been done, and it's quite interesting the software they were promoting there. Yeah, where you get best bang for buck basically in regards to sediment traps or wetlands and things like that. That was really quite an interesting presentation. It'll be interesting to see if they can be sort of spread out. All these tools will certainly help in the future for Southland. We're always engaging the chairs in the regional sector and LGNZ engagement. It's critically important that we support that. Working together to make sure the government we're speaking as one voice. through all the processes and all the changes that are going on at the moment. Just quickly going, great day. I think we've already talked about the High Country Field Day at Glen Airy Station. That was just an amazing day to see the scale and what they're actually doing and dealing with the issues they have on that property. And certainly big thanks to David Pinkney and family who opened the farm up for that. Always working well with the mayoral forum, with the rest of the mayors, and especially with what's going on down here with local government committee and come along, get together and work together, and certainly they were put the triennial. We got a wee amendment on the triennial agreement. Local government organisations always is certainly in the centre at the moment for all councils throughout the country and especially down here. So yeah, if any other questions in regards, Morris.
Just a minor point, Mr. Chairman, I said the subheading there might need to be altered.
Got an identity crisis, Chairman.
Chairman Hall.
On behalf of Chair McFarlane, oh, that's good. I haven't talked to Nicol for a while, so yeah. Get a report back from him how life is. I'll be looking forward to that probably too. No, yeah, I didn't notice that. Yes, very well. Morris. Any questions? You?
Just the one point, Jeremy, I suppose, in regards to local government reorganisation, that was talked about quite strongly at the river liaison meetings, to be fair, around community quite animated, I suppose, around having some, still having voice going forward. And so, and one of the questions or a couple of points they made was they didn't feel that they were aware of the process. So I suppose going forward is how we actually communicate to the wider community when the appropriate times are to give feedback to local government.
Yeah, well, we're trying to advertise, trying to get it out there that it's, and every opportunity we have, and as councillors we need to make sure that people do have their input into this. It's a major thing, but it is a bit worrying when I know it's very hard to connect to the community. And I've had certainly a lot of conversations in regards to that people still don't know anything's going on. So we just need to keep our voices loud and making sure, especially liaison committees, there are some ones that's going to change their input. That's the information that needs to go to the local government commissions. Hugely important. These community groups, whatever happens in the future, that they still have a loud voice in regards to what affects them. So, someone.
Two things, Chairman. Also need to remind the community that it's not our process. As much as they need to know when they can engage with the process, it's not our gig. So we're doing our best to get that information out to them. And the feedback that I've had from some of my constituents is that is a little bit negative, if I'm sad to say. They don't feel that they're being listened to. They're a little bit fatalistic about having any input because they feel like perhaps the commissioner going through the motions and ticking boxes is one of them, to quote several. So just I need to make people aware of their feeling. I'm not sure there's much we can do about it, but continuing to remind them that their democratic rights are important, I guess.
So ask, when you hear those comments, do people indicate their preference for how they would expect to see communication? I.e., what platform are they? Are they Instagram? Are they social media? Are they newspaper? Are they catchment group newsletters? How are they? Do they indicate how they prefer or expect to see communication?
Nothing quite as constructive as that, Councillor Morrison, but yeah.
So I think the point being that whenever anyone makes an observation of that nature, we should be immediately inquiring what would work best from your perspective so that we can be out where we want to.
considering,
Yep.
considering probably the age of some of those that were commenting, probably communication out through the catchment liaison groups is probably a really strong opportunity. Just the networks we've got in place as much as the control that actually reinforcing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the type of people that were there, Phil, those words aren't in their vocabulary. And they like to just talk one-on-one, and I think that's how it came out. We were having quite a good discussion about it until Jeremy appeared and he killed it. No, they didn't. Yeah. So, yeah, I think they like that one-on-one, face-to-face.
Have one-on-one conversations with yourself is the issue.
I know, but that's what they like.
Yep. Morris, sorry.
Yes, about the Glen Airy High Country Field Day, and Alice has already mentioned this in a previous item, but I read in the newspaper that on this report on this event, that some people were wanting to extend grazing into areas which had been shut up, as the term is, thinking that it might tidy things up a bit. I think there was the word saying that things were looking a bit untidy and they needed to be tidied up a bit. I might be wrong there, but I wondered whether that conversation extended to ways that land management could reduce runoff from high country situations, because we know now from reports of people who live further down in the catchment that that rainfall now runs off faster and flood peaks get to them sooner. And I wonder if there's any conversation at that field day about how the runoff could be reduced and slowed down at all. Alice didn't mention wetlands, so maybe there was some discussion, but could you tell us more about that conversation, whether or not you were confident that that was a feeling and a trend, or whether it was not?
If I, Ned, I think just reflecting on when they were talking about the whole the higher country that they were in regards to that. Of course, what's the process where they retire land? What's it called?
Tenure review.
Yeah,
Tenure review.
the review was stopped, so Glen Airy didn't get through that process. So they were just, it was about strategic grazing, probably what it's happened in the past. They did talk, I think, around the use of halter and the collars, about strategic grazing in areas. They have the ability to graze cattle in places where there's no fences. They can sort of manage it a lot better. But it was probably a feeling that they're probably saying that, whether from the weed point of view and things like that, whether it was a bit of strategic grazing would actually be beneficial to that country. That's, I suppose, I'd have to stand for cricket. I just can't remember the exact words that day. Alistair,
You're dead right.
Yeah.
It was, they wanted to graze it or needed to graze it to reduce the weed infestation.
They're still allowed to graze.
Yeah, and that was especially what Mr. Roy brought up regarding wilding pines and things. If you get in early, the sheep will graze them, but if you don't, then they just get away, and that was where that conversation came through.
Oh, I think, yeah, certainly I think the area which they were talking about was the use of merino wethers, which they buy seasonally, and they're only there in the summer. And whilst you have to stop pretty hard to get them to eat the wilding trees, having people out there mustering with a little bag of Tordon to deal with stuff as they're actually doing the mustering picks up those strays, gorse, broom, wilding trees, and that's a bit of an impact as well. But there was no specific discussion about how we stop downstream quicker floods, but it was just an explanation of what they're doing on the high country, which is very seasonal. They buy aged wethers off the shears, treat them, and then early autumn they're gone, and so that's part of their management.
Yeah, it certainly was. The environmental side thing was important. It wasn't necessarily to utilise this land. It's more so I think there was an aspect of, as Eric said, there is a benefit to both sides of things. So, but around sediment loss, no, I don't think it was.
Maybe it's a lost opportunity then not to talk about how, runoff could be slowed down coming off the high country, because that is a big issue for us especially going into the future.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
That was basically covered, because
Yeah.
if you go down and have a look at their wetlands they've put in, you could probably liken it somewhere close to Lake Wahola. They put a really big one in so as it comes and settles. Lake Wahola is a bit big, but they have quite a large lake there to be able to get it to settle in.
Just going to say, the agenda of what was discussed was set by Federated Farmers,
Yes.
not by us, and while some of us were involved, we were given specific topics upon which we were to address the panel.
I think the overall thing, even as feds, there was still environmental care that they're looking and understanding our rules and winter grazing management and that. They're all over that. They have got a winter grazing consent. So, and they're generally positive about working with them, resilience into the future. So I think it was a pretty good overall positive thing. So yeah, is it? Oh, sorry, David, and we'll move on after this. That's all.
Yeah, and certainly Glen Eyre is a very well run property, had a big turnout on that day, and the high country you're talking about was very much a very short window of grazing, manage that area in a way where it didn't, because trash can get up there and become fire hazard as well. So a whole lot of issues that could be dealt with in grazing. The liaison groups, are we going to have a chance to just say a couple of things about our own reports at some stage, Jeremy, that later on is up?
Yeah, well, this just shares this verbal reports if you want. So if everybody's happy with mine, Morris, you've got a report there in regards to. You want to speak to that, or
Oh, yeah, sure. And John might.
if you're finished with mine?
Yeah.
If you're happy. Yep, Morris. Sorry. No, well, we haven't finished all the reports yet.
A separate item.
The one of the reports.
Separate
Should move to accept the report.
Okay, let's just go with all the reports are up. Okay, all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried, right. Council reports 9.3. Morris,
Right.
get into it.
Well, that's before the last meeting. And I think hopefully part of it explains it quite well. The thing that amazed me the most, I suppose, was that these farmers, including John and Burke, were very open about their operations, and they wanted to share what they were doing and what they were trying to do to reduce nitrate, and all the details about their operation were there, open for everybody to see. So that was a very impressive part of the program. There's a lot of people there. I didn't mention that here, John, probably 50, 60 people.
Years, not the 60 year. Yeah.
So, the things that they're doing there are looking, really promising. I don't know if I can add anything more. I'm happy to answer any questions, and John might be able to answer them better than me anyway. So, very good initiative, very good to see. So, thank you.
No, thanks, Morris. Do you want anybody else? Has anybody else got any verbal reports, David? This would be the time if you want.
Yeah, I was just obviously liaison committees. I attended 5 out of the 7. I went to the area and done a number of things, but in particular, I just wanted to say it was a little bit publicised. I was speaking on NZEC Day as an Environment Southland councillor, and I made it clear that it was my own personal opinion because I was a bit concerned about how that was put forward. My thing was around building communities around the wind event. People could see me, I see it, I've got a copy. It was just a bit, it was put out as Environment Southland, I certainly wasn't talking on behalf of them. Just wanted to say that.
I'm fine. We're good. I was just going to add to, I'll just go back to Morris's. I went to the field with John's, and it was really quite amazing the use of Ecotane, just broadcasting it on, the growth in regards, obviously in a rotational grazing system works really well. And how it's a weed anyway and it grows, but the benefits of it are quite significant. Reflecting the one thing on, I was quite surprised down at you where you've got a new wetland. the dragonflies. I haven't seen those for years like that. They were quite large ones. Plenty of little things. I picked things out like that, but they were flying around. And it was quite nice to see some of those things you used to see as kids. Yeah, they were big ones. Cool things to see. So you understand the biodiversity in those areas and things. So just little things amuse me sometimes. But anyway, any other reports? Someone got a small mind.
Happy to move that, Councillor.
Yeah, okay, and someone second it. Eric, all in favour, say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Right, we'll move on to 10. There's CE and involved. Take the lead.
Well, thanks, Chair. I'll take the report as read. Just want to highlight a couple of things. It's been a very active period in the reform space at the moment. We had the local government commission workshop. We were part of that a couple of so early in the month, and we talked about just their assessment process. We highlighted a key gap in the process that they set out, which is really important to take into account our functions, which are quite different to TA functions that haven't been factored in terms of how they might assess a proposal. We followed that up with an email to the Commissioner as well. So that was important. We also took part in the committee on the RMA, replacement RMA legislation as well. We've got some planning underway for the annual plan at the moment, the 20s and also 27-37 long-term plan, and it's progressing as expected. So public consultation is now open on next year's fees and charges, and submission to close on the 21st of May. As we touched on previously, we're heading into winter. We had a series of smart wintering days going on, and these have been there's been some learnings from these, and it's useful just to reflect on actually the amount of progress that has been made in intensive winter grazing over the last 10 years. It's been quite a significant shift, but it is one of our high risk activities, so we need to maintain a real focus on ensuring it's as good as it can be. So that it's important that we're going to focus on this activity. Also, it's useful to touch on the building understanding of climate risks underway. The climate change impact assessment report has been released. And it's helping to build a shared understanding of how climate impacts may affect Southland, and also inform future planning and investment decisions in the region. We've got obviously Kanara is a key priority for the organisation and for the council, it's underway. We've got it's pleasing to know that the work in the core area near the railway bridge is early starting, and we're looking at an opportunity for a launch next week. We're just waiting for some information of the tenant for that. So that's going to be welcome. We've got a real focus on ensuring that the project delivers, gets the work done, and on time. We've had also important to note, we've had a series of catchment management committees over the past month, and they've gone pretty well, and they are a key group for us to engage with and to provide us with advice on what's going on in those catchments. So it's really important. I attended the one at Aparima the other day. They've always been a very positive group, and great to see that there was some Kanara funding went into their areas. As I touched on, the first significant investment we've had into our river protection flood control infrastructure for some time, since probably the Catchmore days. So it's a welcome investment. Also, we've got some positive results from Waituna. So the photographs on page 69 show some of the early planting that's gone on, and just that's shaping up good survival and growth, demonstrating the value of ongoing restoration and partnership work in this catchment. And also touch on we had a wilding conifer workshop here a few weeks ago, where we had a mid-dome and also also the rocket tip group part of that, just talking about the reports of wilding conifers and the threat they pose to us, and the emergence of Douglas fir has been a key species for us. noting it's sort of changed the game in terms of the old spread, if you like, came from sort of legacy plantings from Gamma Plantings and our predecessor, the Kitchen Board. These new spreadings coming from existing plantations. I think provides there've been some really good publicity arising out of that. I noticed it was on national radio yesterday morning. It was in the OET a couple of weekends ago. So good to see that. When it's been raising, significantly more funding is required if we're going to get on top of this issue, which probably our biggest threat to the belt, to the biodiversity of Tassie Parsons and the South Island. So I'm happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Morris.
You worry me immensely.
You're not the only one. It's like
Because I just read how much has gone now. You're telling me when I look at people in governance, employee turnover remained at 18% for the month. Now, are you going or how do we get 18% out of here in a month?
I'm going next month.
No, you're not.
In July. Again, you might want to ask that question.
You know, we didn't have 18% turnover because that's 36 people in a month.
Yeah, it is. Yes, you're right. We could have added a couple of experience there to explain that from rolling figure. So that's, we look at it on a monthly basis, but we look for the previous 12 months. So it's an 18% rolling figure. And we know that when we benchmark that, so there's a Wilson Williams report, one got the 2023-24 data for that because it's currently being, it's a year in arrears, but it's lower than the previously reported national averages, which is about 20-21%.
Well, I'm saying that needs to be fixed because to me, as I read it, there was 18% turned over for the month with the team continuing to support managers.
So we just need to qualify those words.
Yeah, rolling 12-month average. Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. It's your Mr. Morris.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, about the Stead Street pump station monitoring, on page 67, the monitoring is being undertaken, and I assume that's to do with fish passage, to make sure the fish are moving back and forward however they want to. Normally we wouldn't get a report on that, although it might be included in the compliance report. I'm not sure, but I would like to see the details of that at some stage to make sure that the operator is working as intended. Really important because the pumps, Archimedes screw pumps, were quite unique in this situation. So it'd be really good to know that they are actually doing what they intended to do.
Chair will ask Lucy. Do you want to?
Yeah, through your chair, I'm more than happy to bring a report back to probably either to council, but ideally do it through to the Integrated Catchment Management Committee on the results from the survey. Okay. We are serving, as you said, on the fish passage requirements as per the consent. The work started a couple of weeks ago and it's got a couple more weeks to run. So if we can get it to the next ICMC committee, we will do that. Otherwise, it might be exciting, but absolutely happy to.
Thank you.
I think it's got huge, a lot of money invested in this passage in there. Good to get the feedback. Very good. Thanks, Lucy. Lyndall.
Yeah, just to that, remembering that that's a baseline measurement because we don't have anything.
That's correct. Yes, through your chair. So one of the consent conditions requires us to do this baseline survey. The intention would be that it helps us to know what's there, and then the monitoring regime needs to be articulated. Thank you.
You knew what was going on before the pumps got replaced. I thought there was some
in relation to fish
movements,
and what's moving. Yeah, we had some information before. The work that's now underway is to determine the current state and what work we might need to do more.
Thanks, Lucy. David, do you?
Yeah, just the previous sentence that the pump station work is currently focused on finding closeout, commissioning and transition operational readiness. I thought it was already operational. Is that right?
Yeah, through your chair. So both the pumps are currently operational, but we have got a bunch of commissioning and final teething bits and pieces that we're working through. So we've been commissioning it for the last year. And so as pieces have been moving through, they've been being resolved. And we're in the process of taking that over as a full asset now to maintenance to go with that. So we're in those final stages of decommissioning, planning, and those kind of pieces. So yes, it's operational, but that's been some teething things that we've been working in commissioning.
So does that then, oh, sorry, did I?
Yeah, I pointed.
Yeah. So does that mean that we're going to administer the repairs and maintenance to that system from inside here?
So at the moment, we're working through with the build contractors as well as the design contractors any remaining teething issues in terms of those commissioning pieces. In terms of how we'll do the maintenance moving forwards, we've been in conversations with external providers to help us with that, but it's still very live, so it would be useful. Council was minded for me to bring back a fuller report on statutory to the next committee.
So
There's a lot of complexity in this.
Today,
Sorry, that's all right.
Chair, the idea is to have a report come back from the next ITM on the work going on that's around getting this pump station to the stage where it can be handed over to the team to run it business as usual. So there's still some existing construction work, if you like, to do to ensure that actually we get the handover in a state that's fit for people.
Okay, Lyndall.
Next, just to that, there's a risk and assurance part to that report, I hope, because there'll be some things that need to be not elevated but directed in that area. And the other thing I was going to say has gone right out of here. What did you just say, Jim? Forget it. I'll come back to it. Sorry.
No, just reiterating, Councillor Ludlow's risk and assurance absolutely needs to see part of this. And yeah, obviously looking forward to seeing the report. Nice, thank you.
Insurance was the other thing in here. Yeah, that'll come through there. So.
Thanks. Let's see, is there any other questions in regards to Roberts?
Just could we ever, what do we know currently around freshwater farm plans and the relationship with what government is planning to do? What's the latest?
So the latest information is that there's going to be an order in council coming through. I think it's the 3rd week of May. And they'll extend the due date by 18 months. And there will be a requirement for those freshwater farm plans to be included in as a key part of those freshwater farms.
So that's the signal we've received, that's not in writing.
No, it's a signal we received with some very senior officials at the ministry.
Being 27th May being the due date for
the 18 months
the
beyond
order
that.
of council. It's in place at the moment.
And Appendix N will be rolled out throughout the country?
No,
It's
it's
just in
South.
Only south.
This is unique to South.
Yep.
Regards to our plan. So. Right. Any other questions, Robs?
Sorry, just one really quick one. Great to see that the website traffic has had a 27% increase. Just hoping that that's a good thing. Because people are finding what they need and know that it's the one source, one would hope. If there's another reason, we probably need to know.
That's me, I'll be using a lot.
Same.
Get in there too. Right, no, as I said, no other questions regarding Rob's. We're all good. Happy to move, Alistair. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Yeah, we'll move on 10.2, youth engagement mechanism. Lead in there. Yes, how are you?
Hello. I'll take the paper as read, but just wanted to give a quick recap. Good workshop we had at the beginning of February, really outlined how engaged you all were and the appetite for working with youth. After further consideration, because what came out of the workshop was how massive the scope is. We do a lot, so there's many places that we can play. So we talked further, and there was a recommendation that came through that maybe we, given our uncertain future, we could align with the LTP process. It felt like there was something that had a beginning and an end. And yeah, we can just kind of supercharge that through the LTP process. And it gives a really good kind of overview of everything that we do and processes. So, thank you.
We feel like we get good work up on it. It's certainly a positive feel. Just trying to work out the how.
Yeah.
And what's needed.
Just to clarify, what this proposes is to do a youth hui. It would be a one-off kind of trial, experiment, prototype kind of thing to learn in the process, as well as elicit input to the LTP process from the youth.
Yeah, I think we would probably 2 and 3 can kind of go together a little bit. I think it would be a case of kicking off with the youth really, and trying to understand a little bit more about what young people care about in relation to what we do, and then take that and figure out how we might align that with our LTP process.
So it's not a commitment to an enduring solution. It's a learning. Part of it's learning how what may or may not work better in the future.
A great learning opportunity, I think, about that.
Although, firstly, hui, it can be a singular or plural reference. And I would like to think that recommendation 3 actually does kind of commit us to more than one opportunity to engage with young people, because the long-term plan is so big, and if we have an initial hui, there will be things that fall out of that not just process but subject matter that might take more than one opportunity. The other part of that actually is that our young people are, as with our grown-ups, are widely spread across the region. So I'm conscious that if we have a hui in the city, we need to make it accessible to the young people who are further away, and whether that's, you know, us providing a minivan, because actually, as it highlights in the paper, there's more than one demographic of young person, and we don't necessarily, we tap into a very small layer of that, often the motivated and the high achieving, you know, through the high schools or whatever. But there are a whole bunch of other young people who we need to hear from. So we can make it, if we can enable them to attend somehow, I think that will be, sorry, it's a logistics kind of a thing, but it's important. We find other ways to engage with a broader spectrum. But I would certainly be in favour of a youth hui, and then aligning things with the long-term plan. It's a beautiful opportunity.
Yeah, just clarity, is it just for Environment South in this hui, or are we pushing it through the other council? I'm very aware that there's a discussion going on around amalgamations and government reform, and at risk of spreading the workload thin. I'm just trying to make sure that we are heading into this with an understanding that the future looks different for all councils, regardless of, you know, I think we're at a point of certainly needing to look across the whole region of Southland, not just Environment Southland's role in the environment. So yeah, just the question, is that on the radar?
I was just going to make a comment, obviously, where do you want us to fit into how to participate, but just in regards to need to be given to creating an environment where young people feel comfortable. It's, you know, coming in here and having a yarn, it's something to look at us all our old faces, and it's a bit scary as it is. that's hugely important. And saying, well, you work it out, guys. We'll come to you. And if you want to, where do we fit in? As chairs, mayors, or councillors? And I think everybody would be happy to be involved, whatever the comfortable feeling to actually engage with them.
Yeah, and I think there's a big opportunity for that, and I think it leads into new questions and points as well. And kind of goes back to my point around scope. The scope is huge geographically, topic. There's so many things, age group, all of that stuff, and we're starting to build some really good networks. We have, our TAs, and we have the networks that we've built through the youth work we've done so far. So I think the next step for us would be to work out how we run that, how we make sure that we're kind of including everybody that we can. And I definitely think there's a bit of scope of work to do to understand better and how we would resource that.
I think and I'll probably back Lyndall's in regards to Hilliard. I'd like to think if we push this, to really encourage it, I should say, is that it would be multiple. Let that develop and let them, let them organise themselves too with support from us.
Yeah, I think
a few meetings, then we can feed it into the long-term plan.
Yeah, I think probably that wasn't clear. I guess the original, the hui would be to kind of set the scene, and then we would build it from there. I envisage many hui across the LTP process and getting that, getting the youth view throughout that whole process.
Was it Morris?
Just to support that, I mean, ideally we could think of maybe developing groups that are a bit like the catchment liaison committees that provide advice to us, so that we have maybe multiple groups around the region, using social media as well as face-to-face meetings. That might be more comfortable. What John says about working with other councils is really important, and we should be looking for that too. I support all of that. So yeah, let's get this done, and let's see. Let's see some good feedback from this group in our community.
Yep.
Look, I'm sitting here listening and thinking, hui's all around the place, minivans. Do we have the resources, considering that we've got a rates cap? How do we fit? Where does the money come from?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and it would definitely be part of the planning that we're doing. I agree it would be amazing to go big, but we do have social media, and we know that young people are online, so we can work with that. So we'll be making sure that we work something into, well, at least the planning phase, into resources we already have.
Yeah, thanks. Just to that, building those costs into the LTP will be part of the LTP process. So, anyway, recommendation 4, providing direction on how councillors would like to participate. Under the assumption that we would all support participating somehow. But actually, I think we should take direction from the young people as to how they would like to be involved. Using the One New Zealand Foundation model, as far as there are things, and I think they talked about it when they were here, the young people that we had this good idea, we had this problem, and so the young people came up with solutions, and the foundation have enabled them to do the thing. I think we have to be mindful that that's something that we could do, rather than say, oh well, no, but or and or whatever. So I'd be guided by how they would like us to be involved. But at the same time, I really want to sit in and see what's going on. So personally, anyway, I would do my very best to sit up the back and be quiet. But I'd prefer to be guided by what they think is best, because as we know, we think one thing and sometimes they think differently.
Just again, on point 4, providing direction how councils would like to participate in the process, I think
a principle should be that, like any democratic system, we should be accessible to any of our constituents. But maybe once we know the final shape and size of a hui, that might dictate what's the appropriate ratio of council representation to the participants. So maybe hold off on committing to that once we know a little more about the final shape of the event.
Very good discussion. I think I've given the feedback we need in regards to that. So yeah, can I
I'll move.
some recommendations? Lyndall and Phil, taking it. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
It's carried. Thanks. Move on to 10.3, fast track approvals. Agriculture project. Grace, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Morena councillors, conscious of your agenda and other commitments today, so I'll take the report itself as read to summarise a few key points. Firstly, thanks again for the excellent feedback you gave in the open workshop on the 18th of March, and the feedback that was consolidated from that was that the councillors were supportive of the project, subject to an appropriate condition suite and safeguards. So that feedback's been taken and framed up into a substandard comment. As indicated in the report, the substandard comment period closes tomorrow, so the intention would be that if there are any changes made to this, then we would make those amendments and then send it to the EPA tomorrow. Just sort of highlight a couple of issues that may be of interest to you. Firstly, just sort of moving through to this substandard comment itself on page 83 onwards of your agenda. We've sought to recognise a really significant importance of this project to Ngāi Tahu, both in terms of cultural exploration, socio-economic benefit for Ngāi Tahu whānui, rangatiratanga and heritage. Also links very strongly to the Muriku agriculture strategy, to which Environment Southland was a signatory. It's specifically identified project in that context. Basically, the submission of the comment seeks to support the application in principle, subject to an appropriate condition suite. Moving over to page 85, I'll just highlight one point for your reference. Some of our coastal plan provisions relating to agriculture are quite aged. The coastal plan was made operative in 2013. Some of the agriculture provisions are, relatively dated in a contemporary context. So we've sought to recognise that in our comments, that while strictly not all aspects of the project necessarily fully align with the policy framework is quite old, and in particular it doesn't reflect the current state of the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement. And at the top of page 85 there, you'll see that there was a recent amendment to the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement, the national instrument, that's really important in the planning context, and that amendment sought to specifically identify the cultural benefits of a project. So that was quite an important, and I would say an enabling amendment to the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement. We have had reasonably extensive technical review of this application. We don't hold all the expertise in-house. And in particular, we had Dr. Nigel Kelly, who's a Tasmanian-based geological expert, and Mike Moore, who's a Dunedin-based landscape architect, do some peer review of the applicant's content. And that threw up no specific concerns for us. But I think that process was really important. It's important that this application gets very robust technical review, and there was no real significant referees from that process. There are, as fast track runs, it runs pretty quickly, and it's a bit of a work in progress. And subsequent to the preparation of these comments, the applicant provided the panel with a range of comments in relation to some matters that the panel had sought to clarify. We haven't responded directly to those. That was our legal advice not to do so. We've left the door open. If the panel wants any feedback from us, they can come back to us in that regard. Another important element is the applicant's proposing an adaptive management regime, and that's not unusual for big projects. In fact, you'd argue it's actually almost the norm for big projects now, and that's whereby ongoing monitoring through the project can give rise to changes that can give rise to adaptations in the way that the project's managed. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. The panel has certainly focused on that approach and said that there needs to be sufficient certainty in that. And that's important for us as well, because if these approvals are granted, and I say if, it's obviously a panel decision, then we inherit the Environment Southland Resource Consents parts of it,
and we would have to monitor and if necessary enforce. So on page 89, there you will see we've responded specifically to that. I suspect there might be a little bit more dialogue and we'll pass under the bridge on that aspect of the application. So I would suspect, I don't know, but I think the panel will ask for some further dialogue between experts on that. So overall, to summarise, Mr. Chairman, the submission seeks to support the application, recognise its importance for Ngāi Tahu and seek an appropriate condition suite.
Thank you. Thank you for that. John?
Cheers, thanks for that. Look, you raised a couple of important points there that I think we probably need to pick up on. You know, the RMA reform is not coming to 2029. As big, we are sort of hands tied around any plan changes we can't make, i.e. the coastal. My understanding is you said that at the national level they tweak some rules to make it more workable. Going forward with fast track plans, how much work is going to be required for us, being that our hands are tied on some of the stuff? I pointed out that we do have some antiquated plans. So is there anything we can do as that we can do now to manage going forward to make these fast tracks a bit easier? It just seems that we're sort of getting asked to say yes, but we're not allowed to make anything locally decided around rules, and we're kind of in the hands of the ministers to make changes. So it just seems a wee bit, not disrespectfully, but academic at times, the way this is being put upon us.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's a good question. Obviously, the plan stop provisions, as you're all aware of, December 2027 has a bit of a limiting factor on this. Obviously, this is the first agriculture application nationally under fast track, so there's been no others anywhere else in New Zealand to date. That doesn't mean it's going to be the last, however, as the Council has highlighted. There are, despite the plan stop provisions and the coastal plan situation at the moment, there are some opportunities for us to continue to advance our thinking around marine spatial planning and where things may be best to go or not go. I think it's absolutely crucial we do that in partnership with Marama and others. But there are some opportunities to advance that thinking. If it became a real pressure point, we could seek some level of ministerial support for a plan change, similar to what we've done with some of the other provisions at the moment. Obviously, that would have to get over the line, but I would suspect that with the agriculture being a key central government focus for economic growth, there may be some support for that if we get into that stage. In the meantime, we have to work with the plan instruments that we've got in the regime when a particular application is launched.
Paul, then Alison, then Morris.
Yeah, no, just picking up on what John said, no doubt the EPA are the ones making the decision. They'll take hopefully this into account. It's good that we clarified it with this and we go to them. So and it shows you have a really good understanding to tell the EPA what their thoughts are regarding the coastal plan and the future changes we need to make once the date in 27.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's and it is their decision. No doubt they'll take it.
Yeah, Stuart, just to respond to that, we've had a couple of sessions with the panel to date, very impressive panel with a lot of knowledge, and they've given very intense scrutiny. And that was certainly something they were keen to understand of the status of our planning provisions and where they sit relative to, I guess, contemporary agriculture arrangements.
Okay. Alistair.
Bruce, it was announced on the radio last week, a bit of a surprise, a urea plant worth $3 billion coming in. Is that going to be a fast track thing, or is it at that stage? Where's it at?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the media coverage that I saw indicated that they would intend to utilise the fast track process, but it's very early days for us with the limited direct dialogue. So that's what it's saying at the moment.
Morris.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little concerned that we are saying that we support this project. I wonder why that is. I think I know. I think it's because it's a Ngāi Tahu project. Is that right?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think that's one reason. That's an important one in terms of our partnership with Ngāi Tahu. I think there's other reasons. You recall that towards the end of the last council triennium, the previous council established a position statement around agriculture, which was generally supported. We've also been a signatory to the Murihiku agriculture strategy and a contributor, I think, financially. Going to be corrected on that, towards the development of that strategy. So Environment Southland has signalled through that strategy its general support for the development of an agriculture industry, provided it's done in a sustainable way. So the feedback from the previous workshop was that was the position that council wanted for.
I'm just a little still just a little concerned because, you know, if another big industry was to be set up somewhere, would we support that? We have to do the monitoring of this, and I think that we should be neutral in terms of whether we support it or not, really. I think it's an important principle here. And so you know, even though we are in partnership with Otahu generally, this is a commercial project which is likely to have benefits to the region. I'm not saying that, but in terms of, you know, the council's objectivity and role, I make clear that we were, you know, I didn't say in so many words that we supported it. We're not opposed to it, but we shouldn't be supporting it either, in my view.
Chair, can I just the key thing here with this one is we're not the decision maker. And in the past, we've always council have taken a view that the key thing for us is sustainable. There's an appropriate suite of conditions to manage any adverse effects that may arise. So that's been a key driver for us in the past.
Oh yes, no, I know that. Just it's an exception that we're doing this. We're not doing it for other big projects. So that's just my view.
Here.
Yeah, look, the point that Morris has made. So because we're not making the decision, will we be submitting in any form about the very points that you made, Rob, to the process? So I understand the process, but will we be submitting around sustainability or anything else? What role will we have in that?
Well, I think to date we're thinking quite clearly in this this report that is about sustainability, but I'll get back to Bruce to talk about what other opportunities there are in terms of the actual the mitigation of conditions.
Can I just add into that around the contact fast track process? What was our position? How did we word that? We're supportive of renewable energy and things like that. So I'm just trying to understand that this is supporting economic things too. I'm just trying to tease it out a wee bit, but if you can just so how we support.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman, just first to deal with the first question around contact energy application, which was our first fast track application that we've dealt with. Council's comment on that was supportive for the renewable energy benefits, but conscious of effects like wetland effects and the need for appropriate condition sleep. So there are some parallels between the two positions here. Councillor Robbo is raising a really good point though, however, around what is our council's role in relation to a fast track application. There's no requirement that you take a position either in support or opposition. The council could be neutral. The previous feedback based on our Murihiku agriculture strategy support and Otahu this project for Otahu was that councils were favourable towards supporting this application. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to support every application that comes in front of you. There could be a whole suite of fast track applications for all sorts of things that come in front of you over the next few years. And there's a lot of uptake of fast track at the moment around the country. Some councils are taking different approaches to this, where they're very much taking a objective neutral comment approach, and that's entirely within your scope to take that approach as well. I was working on the basis of the feedback from the previous workshop, which was supported.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm just sitting here listening to this thinking, you know, tomorrow's a deadline. We've had workshops, we've discussed this. there's now questions ready to take forward. It's set down in this here, some of the reasons why we supported it as a council, and that was to support the economic, also food resilience, employment. It's a good environment to fit, and there's a lot of benefits, and no doubt you also raised here the number of fast track things that are in place at the moment is quite a number. But yeah, no, at this late time, I sort of hoped that we were sort of workshop this and got to a point where we agreed under some with this.
Al, I'm just thinking, Al, you're right. No, I'm just going, I'm writing your names down. Sorry, Linda.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to endorse your commentary around the name of it's not right overhead, the adaptive management issues. So minute 3. Yes, would endorse that there are some things that need to be sorted.
Roger.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, reiterating Lyndall's comments that that adaptive management framework is really critical to the successful implementation and management of VEX. So wondering if we have got an assessment of the cost implications to council associated with our responsibilities if this is approved going forward to support the monitoring and assessment associated with that. What are we looking at?
Mr. Chairman, good question. We haven't got a detailed assessment at this point in time because it would depend on what the condition suite landed and how much monitoring was required, etc. But the intention would be that that would be fully cost recoverable from the applicant, and they've acknowledged that in the application document. That doesn't mean that you'd overcharge, but there's also no reason why the ratepayer generally should be subject to any additional cost for this, and that's not inconsistent with every other monitoring as we do for the renovation.
Nice point. I think Morrison, you were indicating you're probably looking at this different because it's Ngāi Tahu in the application. I would probably have thought that it doesn't matter who we follow the rules. We're very supportive of economic growth and resilience, use of resource management in the right way. So I don't think we've treated it any differently. That's what I was trying to work out, the contact energy. Did support it under renewable energy. In there. Good and right. So that's the only comment I was just going to make.
Sorry,
regards to that.
Sorry, just one final thing too. You know, the technical reviews that we've put in here by specialist people isn't really good. It was good to have that sort of peer review of sentiment. Thank you. Pretty clear, so.
You'll move it, Paul.
No, second.
You'll second it. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thanks.
Thank you very much for all the hard work. Very much.
We'll move 10.4. 10.4 regards to consultation of our annual plan. Would like to come and talk.
Thanks very much for this paper. I'll take it largely as read, but a bit of a brief overview. So effectively, this paper seeks to formalise conversations from an earlier workshop on the process for that annual plan. Effectively, what the council has signalled is that the consultation process and the significant work done by the finance team in identifying some savings in the projected work plan for 2026-2027 financial year. We've managed to find significant savings but not reduce the levels of service for the capital projects. So seeking a significant reduction in the anticipated rates increase, which was signalled at 12.6% in the long-term plan, seeking to, through that work done with the finance team, get that down to a 3.9% rates increase for 2026, 2027, without reducing the level of service. So from a legal perspective, we are not bound by a consultation process. So seeking a formal decision from council to not formally consult on the annual plan for the future financial year. And I just focus some of that consultation effort on what the previous conversations this morning on youth engagement and the future LTP process. So channeling the consultation engagement on the long-term plan process rather than happy to answer any questions, but also I signal a quick typo in column 3 of the table on page 97. The top part in bold should read annual plan 2026 to 27 position rather than 206.
I'll lead the way with that. Just to clarify, this is not about setting a rate, it's just about are we going to consult? So reasonably straightforward. We'll be coming back the numbers and the rate before we go about. Is that right? So just to inform that. So Lyndall, Phil.
Yeah, Chairman, the critical part for me is that if we're not consulting on anything this time, we use that time to get ahead of the LTP conversations, because there is a lot in there that we can get initial conversations started. So I would absolutely endorse using the LTP consultations soon.
All good, Phil.
Just on recommendation 3, direct staff to target a rate saving of 3.9%. Does that actually mean target a rate of 3.9% as opposed to saving? Because saving of 3.9 suggests that's 3.9 below the 12.6. So the actual saving would be 8.7% below what we indicated in the long-term phase.
3.9% the target rate.
Take out saving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed about the rate.
Yeah, I know it's not locking out, but in terms of the target.
Sound right.
Yeah.
It's a bigger saving, that's why I probably might consult. Morris.
Reduction to make
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm surprised that a change of 8.7% is not significant from what we advertised. It would be good to see just, what the savings were. That 8.7%, I imagine, represents several $100,000, if not more, and how we are going to be able to provide, continue to provide the services that are required, even though we're reducing the take by that amount. So at some stage, it would be really good to get the detail of that, so that we're not going to be doing this anymore, and that's not going to affect our performance, for example, that sort of thing.
Can I reiterate, we'll be dealing with that in the future. So
yes, Mr. Chairman, I know.
Just saying that don't focus. Just trying to reiterate that we've plenty of time to go through the budget as such. Sorry, who is there? Any Roger? Yes.
Yeah, I'll just back to that table on page 97. Observe that the key projects row has 2 empty sort of cells around the difference and the implications, I guess, for the 2026 position, and whether we could get an explanation around that.
Yes, certainly. So I guess the primary areas of focus are around the levels of service as outlined in the LTP and our capital projects. Some of the key projects that assist, there will be some changes that, like picking up on Councillor Ludway's points around, we are seeing quite a reduction in the costs. So there will be some changes in the key projects, but it does not trigger a threshold for being significant in terms of local act and the requirements legally bind council to go through a consultation process. So we deem that the projects that are not significant, therefore we're not legally bound to go through.
Any other questions? We're all good. Can I have someone to move it? You move it, John, and David, you'll second it. Those 3 recommendations. Yep, I'll put that. All in favour, say aye. Aye. Against? Carried.
Chairman, can I just clarify that recommendation 3 doesn't have the word saving in it anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Move on. I can't there anymore. Took about 200 pages.
Well,
Nice picture there anyway, the nice maps. Yeah, we'll move on to, the updated triennial agreement for adoption. Rachel, you can through that.
Through you, council, was told you saw the initial version of the triennial agreement back in February. Since then, we've had a further mural forum discussion where a minor amendment was made just to ensure that it was clear that where mayors and the chair put up items for the mural forum, those were to go on the next agenda. So that's the only change from the version you've seen previously.
Yeah, what's page 255, 56 if you're where we're at. Reasonably straightforward in regards to this, not too complicated, so. You're happy to move it, Paul? Can I have a seconder? No discussion, all in favour, say aye. Aye. Carried. Right, we'll go to the 10.7 local government annual general meetings.
Yeah, councillors, so from the last meeting, there was a remit proposed to go to local government New Zealand, that being highlighted in black there on page 270. There's an attachment to the paper which considers that in slightly more detail, although in brief detail, given that the requirement in the submission of the remit is for a certain region. Now on page 270, it also outlines that the process by which the remit can be submitted, noting that it needs the support of the locals, well, the local South Island zones, which any of you are attending tomorrow, and so tomorrow and the next day. So the proposal is to encourage you to promote and seek the necessary nominations for the attached remit. And that's a summary, and happy to take any further questions.
I have, yeah, so we will have the opportunity to support this at meeting. As we discussed the things. So I have actually asked Deputy to maybe promote this and talk through this with around the climate adaptation. He's agreed.
Not today.
Not today. I'm just saying he might
Yeah,
take the lead at the zone meeting and so is there any other questions in regards to? We just need to get it, make sure we put our best foot forward. You have to Eric, Iris, you'll second it. With no further discussion, we'll those 4 recommendations will all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. We'll go to the meeting schedule. And run through that with us.
Council's meeting schedule is set out on page 275. I've had further requests for a leave of absence from Councillor Ludlow towards the end of the year. I don't have the dates in front of me. That will be added to the list that's in front of you. There are also changes. The Federated Farmers AGM is on tonight at 4:30. Moya Councillor Chair McPhail is attending Councillor Gibson. The FOE workshop that was on the 28th of May has now become an EMS induction workshop. It was deferred from the severe wind event time, so this is your first session with those. So they're encouraging all councillors to please attend if possible. To key change somewhere.
Okay, any other?
Can I ask about the Mirahuku Advocacy Forum, which isn't on the schedule, but I think we have a date locked in for that one in May and the period of concern. Maybe Sam can
Through you, Chair, yes, we do have a date which is May. The invitation's going out today and we'll make sure it's included in that schedule from now on.
What is it? May.
It is May, the Wednesday, May the 20th.
Briefing on farm things.
It's only a 2.5 hour engagement in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning, I take it.
Yeah.
Okay. Put that in. No other. Bits and bobs, or anything?
In June.
In July.
I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, that's all good. So, sorry. Yep, Phil.
Just, there was a question earlier today about whether or not we've been invited to the thing, what was it?
Regeneration conference.
Marahoga Regeneration Project Conference. Just noting that does fall on 27, 28 May, but we've already got a pretty full schedule for most councillors with all of council committee meetings on the 27th and that EMF training on the 28th. So if an invite was to come in,
An invitation has been received, came to the chairman's email address only. I went back and asked them if it was possible to hold 3 places, given we already had significant commitments without names. And I haven't had a response.
If someone's looking at my emails.
so just observing it, a 2-day event, but it falls at a time that's very busy for council. Yeah.
Key speakers that we want to
Would be
hear.
good to have someone go to listen in.
I'm potentially there for dual purposes, so depending on what we speaker schedule and activities.
Right. Very good. John.
Yeah, just on leave of absence. Back half of May, I'm pretty committed. It's just the circumstance we're in with farm change projects. Committed to the ICM, but everything else has been up in your life moving parts around my control today. So just give it a heads up.
Yeah. And Paul.
And yeah, thank you, my leave of absence is noted there. June.
Yep. No, that's all good.
Yeah.
Remove that number. Who else wants to second it? All in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. On to the last, I think. Last, the common seal. Common deal. Yeah, I was going to say Eric, yeah. You didn't beat it today. Obviously the recommend note the documents to the common seal. Any questions in regards to that? Pretty straightforward. Eric, you're going to.
Yeah, all right, no one else.
We'll move it and second it. Phil, all in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Right, that finishes our public meeting. No, we won't stop. We'll ask why the reasons were.
You're moving into public excluded to confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council of the 18th of March, the extraordinary meeting of council of the 15th of April. We've got committee resolutions of the Risk and Assurance Committee of the 4th of March, Finance and Performance Committee of the 19th of March, and the Southland Civil Defence Emergency Management Group meeting of the 27th of March. The grounds are all set out on page 282 of the agenda.
I'm happy to move that. Someone move that. All in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. To go offline.